So after 4 days of rain, I finally have a day here where there's only 7% chance, so I'll be able to get back to fixing my RV roof.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey everybody, this is Bill from Live Simple, Live Free, and this is part 2 of my RV roof repair. In part 1, I took apart everything on the inside where the water was there. It was wet. Things were damaged. I got that all apart, got it dried out. It's looking good. I still need to put some mold killer on there, but I'll do that. First thing I need to do here is fix the roof leak so that it doesn't continue. I'll fix this and then leave it sit for a while and make sure it's actually sealed before I close off or finish the inside and close it up again. So here's the skylight above the bathtub, and it seems to be leaking right down here in this corner. Now this caulk looks like it's the original caulk, and this trailer is an 08, so this is 13 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all of this, and then as a future project I'm going to replace the caulk and all of these other cuts in the roof as well. It's definitely about time. But as far as I know, this is the only one that's leaking, so I'm obviously going to be doing this one first. Now, a lot of you said in the comments on part 1 that you had problems with skylights. They always leak and you just eliminated them. That is a possibility for me to eliminate this, but I'm not going to be doing it at this time. I just want to get it fixed real fast. I have to strip off the old caulk here, and as I'm inspecting it, I actually found right here is a little crack that goes part way up here. So for now I'll just be covering all of that with caulk, but that's very suspect, and so I will probably be either replacing this or just covering it over at some time in the future. Now, in my research for how to fix this, I found that just regular caulking is not recommended. I would have tended to use silicone, but I also found that silicone is not recommended because if it's in direct sunlight, it can tend to deteriorate over time. So what I found is this. It's RV Flex Repair caulking, and it's called lap sealant, self-leveling lap sealant, and it's specifically designed for this application. Now, I also had a number of people looking at this caulk, and they were talking about how they couldn't believe that was factory installed, what a sloppy job that was. But as I watched videos of how to install this from this company, when I'm finished, it's going to look just like this. You just put it on and then it's self-leveling, so it smooths out itself, and then you let it seal, or you let it dry. So this is correct. This is according to the industry standard, according to the directions for this particular lap sealant. So that's what I'll be doing again. I need to scrape all this off, and then I need to clean it either with acetone or with rubbing alcohol. Wow, and I see that that's not going to be easy. I was just going to use a chisel and just scrape it off, but I discovered that this is a rubberized coating. It's soft and pliable, so I can't really use the chisel or I could damage it, at least not down here. I might be able to up here. But this is going to be a slow process to get all of this off without damaging this rubberized roof coating. Wow, this is going to be a long, slow process. I can use the chisel up here on the skylight to scrape it, but I've got to be very, very careful not to damage this rubber coating. So I can't really use this on down there at all. Just gonna have to peel it off like this. And then once I get this clean, this is gonna take me literally all day to get this off of this skylight. But then once I do, then hopefully I can get the rest of this clean with the acetone. And it's gonna take a lot more than what I have. I just have a little bottle of it. I'm gonna have to go buy a gallon of it, try to get this clean. So, guess I'll shut the camera off because you're not gonna wanna watch me do this for hours. Wow, this is really tedious trying to get this off of here without tearing that rubberized roof. Got to go real carefully, slowly like this. I started here and I got that to there, and it's taken me 25 minutes to go from there to there. And for our metric friends, that would be 25 minutes. So I'm going to be here literally all day. I hope I can get it done today to try to get this stripped all the way around. I never imagined it was going to be this tedious. Okay, I think I found the spot where it was actually leaking. I've peeled this up, and as I got to this corner, right there, you can see how this is the metal part of that frame, and then there's this metal piece, and there's a gap right there. It almost looks like something hit here and pushed down on it and broke that seal. I think that's probably where it was leaking. So theoretically I could probably just caulk that one spot and it would be done, but since I'm here, I'm working on the whole thing, I'm just going to continue to do the whole thing, because this caulk is 13 years old. So, but that's comforting to see where I think it was actually leaking. So when I first started this, it was really slow and really tedious, but I've kind of gotten a knack with the technique that I need, and now it's a little bit faster. I was afraid to use the chisel because I was afraid I was going to rip this rubber membrane that covers the roof. But then I discovered that if I take the beveled side of the chisel and put it down, and then I just pry it up like this, it's going quite a bit faster. It's still really slow and tedious, but I've been working on it since 9:30, and it's about noon now, and I've got half of it finished up to there. Still have to do the other half. However, it's about noon, it's getting hotter. I don't do well with heat at all, and though it's not a real hot day up here on the roof, it's getting hot enough that it's uncomfortable for me. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cover this up with a tarp and get back to it again in the morning, tomorrow morning, when it's real cool. It's not supposed to be rain again tomorrow, so if I hit it tomorrow morning, I should probably at least be able to finish tearing off all the caulk. At least that's the plan. Well, I just learned something. I just told you I was just going to quit, and when I did that, I continued on just for another couple minutes, and all of a sudden I discovered it was much easier to get the caulk off, I guess because it was getting heated up. So it took me about 2 hours to go from here around there to that corner, and then it took me 20 minutes to do this side right here. Couldn't believe it. So now it's all cleaned off. I'm still going to have to take acetone to this and try to clean it up a little bit better before I put the new caulk on it. So it's now the next morning. It's nice and cool. I've been cleaning this with acetone to get ready to put on the new caulk. So you can see over here, I haven't cleaned this yet, and you see all the caulk up here on this metal trim work, and down here. Over here, I've already cleaned it with acetone. It got all the caulk off of here, and a lot of it off of here. So the new caulk will adhere much better. This is also, just like removing the big amount of caulk, cleaning this all off is also very slow and tedious. It seems to be the term for this job, tedious. Even with the acetone, this does not come off easily. This is not coming as clean as I would like, but it's the difference between this, which has not yet been cleaned, and this, which has been cleaned. And if this stuff won't scrape off with a knife, and it won't rub off with the acetone, I think it's pretty safe to say it's pretty permanent. So I think I can go ahead and put the new caulk on there, and I think it'll be all right. Still got one more line to do here. Okay, so I think I finally got this as clean as I'm going to be able to get it using the acetone. So now it's time to put on the caulk. Here we go. So I'm going to cover up all the screws. And this big center joint right here. Now this is supposed to be self-leveling. I'm not sure exactly what that means, except that I guess it'll just sort of spread out a little bit. It's very much softer than normal caulk is. So I'm just going to put enough on here that it'll actually have something to self-level with. I also have this one little crack here that I found, so I'm going to put it up on there as well. I'm going to put plenty of it on here, put a third row up on top. Okay, so I've now finished my first tube. Unfortunately, I only bought one and it wasn't enough. One tube just didn't seem like it was going to be enough to me, but it said that it covered, one tube covered 25 linear feet, so I thought, oh, that'll be plenty. This isn't that big. But I failed to realize that I actually laid 3 beads of caulk down here. I put one in the center, and then I put one on each side. So I was able to go from that corner down to here and around to right there. So now I've still got that to go. I'm going to have to order another tube of caulk from Amazon. Fortunately, they're pretty quick. It should get here in 2 or 3 days, so that I can finish it up. So in the meantime, I'll be covering it with a tarp. I'm probably going to order several tubes because now that I'm doing this and I see what's involved, I'm going to replace the caulking around these other things as well. And there's one up there because that caulking is 13 years old, just like this one is, and it might very possibly fail in the future. So I'm going to do all of that now. So I'm going to let this dry and then cover it up with a tarp, and then I'll be back in a few days after I get some more caulk. Okay, so it's now about a week later, and I finally got this caulk in the mail from Amazon, and I finally have a day without rain. So I'm going to be able to go ahead and finish up. Now on the directions on the back of the tube, it says that it can be applied wet or dry. But I'm very skeptical about applying it wet or applying it, when it's going to rain. So I got a good day now. There's like a 30% chance of afternoon showers, and that's hours away. So it should be cured enough to be able to handle it by then. Okay, now this is now finished all the way around. Now I actually anticipate that I'm going to get a lot of comments about how sloppy this looks, that I just gopped it on and it doesn't look very professional. Well, let me just say that I watched a video by the manufacturer about how to install it, and this is exactly the way they said to do it. Normally for caulk, I would have taken this up and put the caulk underneath the flange and then pressed it back down and then put a thin bead on the outside. But this is different. It's designed different for a different application. And it's actually called lap caulk, lap sealant, because it's made to go on top instead of inside, and it's made to lap over instead of, being down inside like caulk normally is. Now notice how they don't even remove the old caulk. It does say to remove any silicone and any loose caulk, but the old caulk they just leave right on there and they go right over top of the old caulk. I don't like that. That's why I removed all the old caulk the best I could. But see how it just goops on top and in piles just the way I did it. That's the proper way to do it. Okay, it's now been 2 days since I finished the caulk on the outside up on the roof. And then yesterday, that was 2 days ago, yesterday it rained all day. We had one really heavy gully washing downpour for about an hour, and then it rained off and on for the rest of the day. So I'm out here to check it and make sure that it's not leaking. And in fact, the whole thing, all the way up inside here, is completely dry. Absolutely no moisture at all. So that's a very good thing. Looks like I got the leak fixed. Now, I haven't treated this yet for the mold, so let's talk mold. Now, I said several times in my first video about this that I was going to spray it with mold killer, and then one time I said I'm going to spray it with bleach. And the problem is bleach doesn't kill mold, as about 100 of you pointed out. But here's the thing, I know that. That was just a figure of speech. I grew up with my mother using bleach to kill mold all of my life, and then I used bleach to kill mold in the earlier part of my life, so it was just sort of a habit that, yeah, you just kill it with bleach. What I meant was you kill it with mold killer. I was talking to a friend of mine who worked for many years as a repairman for a property management company. I don't know how many hundreds of houses they had, but it kept him busy full time. And he got a call from one of the tenants that there was mold in the house. So he went into the house, killed the mold, took care of it. It was no problem. A little bit later, his company and he personally got sued by the tenant, who claimed that two things. One was that they did not use a state-certified mold remediation specialist, and two, that they didn't use bleach. Well, it turns out, well, my buddy did an awful lot of research, and because they were going into court about this. But as it turns out, Virginia doesn't have any kind of certification for mold remediation, so that was a moot point. And the other is that bleach just simply doesn't kill mold. In fact, he had some dialogue with Clorox, who makes, the biggest known brand of bleach, and basically Clorox bleach will kill mold if it's sitting on a countertop if you pour the mold on there and leave it for about 5 minutes. But most people just use bleach water and just wipe off the countertop. That doesn't do a thing. Also, they said that it just simply doesn't work on porous materials like wood. The mold goes down inside the wood, and bleach doesn't penetrate down inside of there, so bleach just simply doesn't work for mold. So you have to have something that says that it kills mold. Oh, in fact, there was a big court case over it against Clorox because they used to claim that they killed mold. Now, if you look on Clorox bottle, you'll say that it says it removes mold stains. It doesn't kill the mold, but once you can kill the mold and it's still stained, then the bleach will take the stains off. So you have to use something that actually claims to prevent or to kill mold. So this is what I'm using, and this is a mold control, mold killer. There seems to be an inordinate amount of fear out there about mold. Now, yes, mold can be dangerous. Black mold can be very dangerous. But the fact is there are thousands of strands of mold and many, many strands of black mold, and there are only 2 strands of black mold that are dangerous. So, you walk through the forest and there's mold everywhere. In fact, mold is the main thing that breaks down trees and things when they die and fall to the ground. So mold is everywhere, and your body is used to dealing with it. I had some mold issues in my little tiny house that I had to rebuild the front wall. You may have remember that if you've been around for a couple of years. After I was finished with that, completely taking out all the moldy stuff and rebuilding it, I did a mold test inside the house, and it came back positive for 4 strands of mold. And it said right on the test that these are very common mold spores, and that they are found in every home and they are not dangerous. So, is black mold dangerous? Absolutely, but most mold is not dangerous. But if you have mold, use something like this that actually claims to kill mold. Also, as my buddy pointed out, as I look at this, I'm not even really sure that was mold. I'm pointing there because that's where the shower is. I'm not even sure that was mold. It may very well have just been mildew, which is not dangerous. After it dried out, when I first took it down and it was wet, everything was all black and it looked really nasty. But as it dried out, you'll see that there is very little black actually even left. And mold usually has kind of like fuzzy things that stick out, and I don't see any of that here. So it may very well just be mildew. I don't know. I haven't tested it. I'm not going to waste my time with it, but I am going to put mold killer on it. So as I said, notice that this has not yet been treated for mold, and most of that black that was there is gone, and most of this is just stain. So I'm just going to treat it with this mold killer. No, I'm not going to show you all that because that's kind of boring, but I'm doing 2 coats. I've just done 1 coat, and then I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to come back and put a second coat of that mold killer on it. And then that'll be it for this video. I'm going to still let this continue to dry, and I'm going to leave it open for probably another week, and let it rain on it for a while to make sure that it's not leaking before I patch up the sealing on the inside end. So that'll be video 3 when I go ahead and do the finish work. So I hope you're finding this helpful, especially if you have to deal with mold or have to deal with fixing your RV roof. And so be sure to check back next time, part 3, for the final. Thanks for watching. Live simple, live free, you be blessed.